Greetings, folks. I am Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to Pick 5. Pick number 5 of albums that are 30 years old in 2025. The top 5, folks. My 5 favorites from 1995. We've been celebrating the anniversaries and birthdays of some great albums all month long, each and every day. 31 of them, as a matter of fact. The final 5 starts today. What are your picks going to be? We'll put them down in the comments below. That's what it's all about. And today, for my pick number 5, this is the debut studio album from this American band. It was released right off the bat, early in the year in January 1995. Produced by the band and their leader Neil Morse for, at the time, Symphonic Records, but eventually Radiant Records and Metal Blade Records. I'm talking about The Light by Spock's Beard. Yes, this is the original CD copy. This is the original Greg Walker released symphonic CD. As you can see, no writing, no label, nothing anywhere until you open up the booklet and you see that final page. Yeah, released from Symphonic Music, right? So this is back when Greg Walker was putting out, mostly reissues, CD reissues of, obscure stuff, obscure prog stuff from the 70s. In the early 80s, but here you kind of have a brand new band getting released on Symphonic. I bought this fairly soon after it came out, right around the time it came out, and it was quickly reissued not long afterwards with bonus stuff and on Radiant Records and whatnot. And of course, Spock's Beard has been a staple on all sorts of other very cool labels ever since. Inside Out and Radiant, Metal Blade, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, Neil Morse, of course, a mainstay of the prog scene. Of course, he left the band he founded back in the turn of the 2000s there. Started up a solo career as well as the Neil Morse Band and lots of other bands, right? Flying Colors and Transatlantic and all this other stuff. But, but this is where it all begins with Spock's Beard, The Light. Still, to this day, a lot of great Spock's Beard albums. Man, I still have a soft spot for this one. If it's not my number 1, it's generally my number 2 in the catalog. Neil Morse, of course, on lead and backing vocals. Hammond organ, all sorts of keyboards, mellotron, acoustic and electric guitars. His brother, Alan Morse, on lead, electric guitar, cello, mellotron, backing vocals. Dave Meros on bass and French horn. And Nick DiVirgilio, drums, percussion, and backing vocals. Of course, when Neil would leave the band, Nick would do kind of what Phil Collins did many years before him and take up the mantle of lead singer in the band. And of course, they would bring in Ryo Okamoto on keyboards, right? Second keyboards shortly after this. But on the debut, it's just the 4-piece here. So what do we have on this album? Well, on the original release, just under an hour long, only 4 tracks. Here, right off the bat, is where Mr. Morse is basically saying, you know what? I like this long-form composition sort of thing. He's been famous for it ever since. It starts off with the 15-minute title track epic, The Light, which is broken down into 8 little mini sections. It's just an amazing display of what Spock's Beard does so well. So if you've never really listened to Spock's Beard before, imagine, if you would, a combination of classic late 60s Beatles, Gentle Giant, Yes and Genesis, maybe a little bit of King Crimson, ELP tossed in for good measure, and maybe a little bit of the Moody Blues. That's Spock's Beard. They rock when they want to. They can do the kind of sing-along Beatles, great, melodic harmonies and things like that. The kind of more acoustic-based stuff of like the Moody Blues with the soaring mellotron, or the real frantic, loaded with counterpoint complexity of a Gentle Giant or a Yes, that sort of thing. And The Light kind of has it all in there. Everything. From there, we have track number 2, which is Go the Way You Go. That's also lengthy. That's 12 minutes long. Here, those great vocal harmonies that Neil Morse knows how to write and sing. The chorus is just absolutely gorgeous. But again, the arrangement has all sorts of the quirkiness of trademark Spock's Beard. I mean, like at like the 3/4 mark where they blast into this kind of cool little fusion-y thing going on with the crazy guitar and keys kind of cascading around each other. It's just like just brilliant stuff. Really, really good. And then of course the big, huge, the even bigger epic is The Water, and that's 23 minutes and change, and that is a 7-part big epic. And again, that takes you through. You got the more acoustic kind of singer-songwriter parts. You got the complex prog. You got the quirky pop. All that stuff kind of blended in there. And they're great musicians. You got Dave Merrill's playing what I assume back then was playing a Rickenbacker, right? Or maybe it was a Fender Jazz bass. I'm not quite sure. Big, thick bass lines running all throughout that song. You got, Alan Morse is a very, very good guitar player, but he's like so like unconventional. So, Neil's brother is always doing these kind of like wacky, almost like it's kind of like Adrian Belew type stuff. It's just very angular and just kind of like looping like guitar solos and things. Really, really unique player. And, of course, you got Neil's keyboards all over the place. But yeah, The Water is a great combination. And it's interesting. There are, and you don't get it on a lot of the follow-up albums, and Neil has talked about it many times. It's like there's like some couple of like little vocal sections on this and on the title track with like these kind of like very effects processed vocals from Neil, kind of like these angry vocals type of thing. And he would not do that going forward, but like I said, I've read interviews where he talks about, I had to get some stuff out of my system early on. This is, before he became a Christian. He was, there's some interesting vocal segments on here and lyrical ideas and stuff like that. But yeah, great track. And then the last song is probably the most straightforward kind of rocker on the album. That's On the Edge. Really good, really catchy, great way to end the album. And it's fantastic stuff through and through. Like I said, there have been many reissues of this. And the Prog Report, our good friends over at the Prog Report, have listed the title track, The Light, as the second best modern prog song of the 1990 to 2015 period. That was in 2017 they listed that. So second best modern prog song post 1990, because that's usually what we think of as the third coming of progressive rock, right? You had the classic 70s, you had the early mid 80s, right? The second wave, mostly British prog rock scene, because it really wasn't happening much anywhere else. You had Marillion and IQ and Pendragon and Solstice and Twelfth Night and Palace and those bands, right, in the early mid 80s. And then starting in 1990, you had this next wave, the third wave of progressive rock. And I would argue that Spock's Beard, along with bands like Porcupine Tree and the Flower Kings and Glass Hammer and the Swedish bands like Anglagard and Anecdote and Ritual, kind of that was the big push of the new prog band starting in the early 90s. So, that's my pick for today, pick number 5, The Light by Spock's Beard. Still a great album. I highly recommend, if you're watching this program and you have not heard it, go check it out. Lots of things to love here. If you love classic prog from the 70s, you love the Beatles, man, you got a lot to love here. So if you've heard it, if you know it, let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. Please comment on it, but more importantly, share your pick for today, pick number 5, as we count down to number 1, 4 more days after today, and then we'll move on to 2005 for half the month of April, and then 2015 for the second half of April, our top 15 in each year, and albums celebrating 20 years and 10 years. That's April. I'll see you then. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, our Cameo page, and the Sea Tranquility membership options all down below. Thanks everybody in advance for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. Coming up, I will be on Guitar Hack tonight, myself and Martin Popoff. So tune in over at Guitar Hack YouTube channel. We'll be doing a sequel to an episode we did a month ago, which proved to be very, very successful, and people loved it, where we each bring to the table 3 little mini album wars of 2 albums that are linked with a theme, and we'll talk about each one of these albums in these little mini wars and pick a favorite. That's coming up on Guitar Hack. Speaking of Martin, tomorrow, Martin and I will be back at the Funhouse. We will be looking at and picking our 10 favorite productions from the great Ted Templeman. So Martin and I each will be picking out our 10 favorites and kind of talking about why we like those productions over other Ted Templeman productions. So it's a look at the producing of the legendary Ted Templeman. That's coming up tomorrow. We've got the Professor's Picks tomorrow. We've got Jamie Laszlo and the review crew on Saturday, bringing back the album homework assignment theme. Remember the old show we did for a number of years ago? We did for a couple of years, album homework assignment. Well, he's got a whole crew that they've kind of shared homework assignments with each individual. So he paired a bunch of people, and they're going to talk about their assignments and what they thought. So album homework assignment returns on the review crew this Saturday, and then Sunday, George Lemmy and I will be ranking the albums of the great Australian prog metal band Caligula's Horse. That's coming up on Sunday. Also, over the next couple of days, did an episode about a week ago of the 30 greatest American bands of all time, in my estimation, right? Well, of course, I'm going to go to the UK because Pete loves his UK British bands and UK bands. So I have put together my list of what I consider the 30 greatest UK bands of all time. In many cases, they're going to be my favorites. But there's also some on this list that I really like a lot that I may pick over bands that I like even more just because of the significance of those bands, right? So there will be bands that won't appear on my list, even though I love them, and maybe love them more than some of the bands I pick because they're just not as significant in the history of UK music and UK rock and whatnot. So I put together my list. That'll be over the next couple of days, so tune into that as well. And more stuff coming. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Pete Pardo. Enjoy your day. Take care. See you tomorrow morning for pick number 4. Bye-bye.